coming to you a little bit early this week, absolutely dazzled because Nikon has just released firmware version 4.0 for the Nikon Z9. This update is feature packed. It's got improvements to autofocus, it's got improvement to video recording, they've added a bunch of new features and settings. The biggest one, and the one that piqued my curiosity for you though, is something called auto capture. So essentially what this feature does is allow you to define certain conditions on your Nikon Z9 that would trigger it to automatically take stills or automatically take video. For example, if an object is in motion, you can trigger it to take video or stills. Or if the camera detects a certain subject, like an animal or a person or a car, you can even limit it to a specific depth or distance so that you're only triggering the camera when exact, precise conditions are met. This essentially turns the camera into an automation machine. So if you're like me and you're interested in backyard birding, the first thing I thought when I read about this feature was, yeah, I'm gonna automate taking pictures of birds that land at my feeders. So why don't I take you over to the feeders and I can show you what I've been cooking up. Okay, so first, let me introduce you to my bird perching stick. So last winter when I was setting these feeders up for the first time, I went to the park, I got this stick, and I set it here because there's a feeder right over there. What I found is that as birds fill up the feeder, more birds will come and wait on this stick to go and get some food from the feeder. Meanwhile, I'd be right over there waiting with my camera so that I could take pictures of birds as they landed on this stick. Nice, easy way to do some backyard birding. So what I want to do today is use the bird perching stick to test the auto capture feature on the Nikon Z9. So first we'll go ahead and get the feeders filled up, then we'll set up the tripod, and then next we'll go ahead and start playing around with the settings and see if we can get this auto capture thing to work. So hold on a second. As I was setting up, I actually had a bit of a revelation here. I found myself going for my 500mm lens because normally I would go stand over here, hide, and use my telephoto lens to take pictures of birds on the perching stick over there. But why am I doing it that way? Well, normally it's because I am part of the equation. I don't want to scare the birds, so I go hide. But I'm not going to be part of this equation, so why am I going to limit myself to a lens with a maximum aperture of 5.6. I've got plenty of lenses in there that have an aperture of 2.8, 1.8, and 1.4. So why don't I grab one of those, set up the tripod right in front of the perching stick, and get some really nice, sharp photos with good bokeh and creamy, good backgrounds that I'm not normally able to get. And this is especially something that will help to improve my low light photography because when are birds most active? An hour and a half after sunrise and an hour and a half before sunset. So if I want to stick my camera out here and capture some things while the birds are active and still get the maximum available light, I can use auto capture. I don't need to be part of the equation. I can go have some coffee inside and let the camera do the work. So I think I'm going to go switch from this lens to my 105 f2.8 macro lens, which is one of the sharpest lenses that I think Nikon has made for the Z mount. So we'll get some up close and personal shots of birds today. Let's do it. Okay, so this is what my setup looks like. I'm no stealthy ninja, so it isn't this often that I'll get really sharp 2.8 glass this close to a bird. I'm actually interested to see how this video looks and how it compares to some of the video I've taken with my 500mm and my gimbal. By the way, one concern that I had was that birds would land and poop on my Z9, so I covered it with a blanket. Now that everything's ready, I just have to update the firmware on the Z9 and then I'll be ready to start testing. Okay, so we're all set up and ready to go. To access the auto capture settings, look in your photo shooting menu at the very bottom option. If you want to access auto capture for video, the option will be in your video shooting menu, also at the bottom. The feature allows for you to save several custom presets. Clicking into each one lets you rename and copy the preset, as well as allowing you to see the individual settings. To actually use a preset, make sure it's selected and then click Start. You will be brought to the Auto Capture Settings display. The top left option is the Capture Criteria menu. use this to select which criteria should trigger a motion capture. The motion capture will only be triggered if all of the items that you selected are satisfied. I'm going to go ahead and turn them all on for now so that we can see the settings. Alright, so let's start by jumping over to the motion menu. Using the scroll wheels on the camera, you can set the speed and subject size values. Each one of these values can be set to a number between 1 and 5. I wasn't really sure what they meant, so I actually had to go consult the manual. For subject size, the number corresponds to the number of focus points that the object in motion is triggering. So select 1 to trigger a motion capture when 4 or more focus points are triggered, and select 5 if you want motion capture to only be triggered when 34 focus points or more are triggered. I'm going to go ahead and just show you the whole list. The speed value refers to the amount of seconds that the subject takes to cross the frame horizontally. Choose 1 for slower moving subjects and 5 to only capture faster subjects. Again, here's a full list. The manual actually just recommends starting with low values for both and just raising each of them gradually until you get exactly what you want. So another cool thing that's available in this motion menu is the direction setting. If you only want to capture a subject moving in a specific direction, you can actually do that. You also can actually test all of this by staging some motion in your scene. Green boxes will appear anywhere that motion's detected that would trigger the motion capture. Alright, so let's move on. The next area is the subject detection. From here, you can select which types of subject should trigger motion capture, whether that be a person, an animal, or a car. Tied closely to this is the area menu. Using this menu, you can limit the focus points that the subject detection will be allowed to detect a subject in case your needs are very precise. Next, I'll show you the distance menu. Please note that these distance options will only work with Z-mount lenses. If you're like me and you're still shooting with some f-mount glass, the distance options will not work for those. You can use the scroll wheel to set a near and far range that the camera will detect a subject. This might be useful for avoiding motion from things like the tree branches you see here in the background of my scene. Finally, let's check out the recording time selection menu. You can use this to set the amount of time that the camera will either record video or take continuous shots at your specified shooting interval. You can also set how long the camera should pause before shooting again. For today, I'm only going to rely on motion settings, although I might come back and toggle subject detection on too. You can go ahead and start the auto capture by hitting the I button, and I'm going to be capturing video, so I'll hit the video record button as prompted, and the camera should start taking video. I'm hoping this works and that we'll actually get some video clips, so if I did, I'm going to go ahead and put those on now, and we'll see what we get. All in all, I would say that the auto capture worked extremely well. I love that it opens the door to new creative opportunities for backyard birding and really for capturing footage with the camera in general. I already have some ideas for how I might use this feature in the field too, so I may follow up with another video once I've had more time to test this feature more fully. In the meantime, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.